All right, CNT125, Chapter 11. Our time ran a little short on the last podcast there, so I'm going to rewind just a slide or two here and hit Kerberos, because I think I missed a couple things in here before we go on. Kerberos, this is your authentication protocol configured by default on something like Active Directory. This is going to use your key encryption for all your communications, keeping it secure. So this is a lot more secure. And the process will work like so. As a user tries to log in and maybe get access to a file server here that their files are on. When it first logs in, the authentication service on the Kerberos server is going to say, well, who are you? Well, I'm Doug Brown. Here's my password. It's going to check and say, okay, all right, here you go. Here is you've been authenticated, and now you're like, hey, I want to access this server over here. So again, it's going to check with Kerberos of like, okay, is Doug Brown allowed to access that server? If he is, can we issue him a ticket so he can basically ride that ride, get access to that server? So it'll verify, yes, Doug Brown has access, can access that server. That's part of his permitted thing to use. It now gives you a ticket and says, okay, here's your ticket, almost like getting a ticket to ride a ride at the fair. And now I present that to the server and saying, hey, I would like to open my file, please. And the server now, having that ticket, knows, okay, this person's been authenticated, he's allowed to use or open that folder and that file, kind of thing. That's what Kerberos is going to do for this whole authentication authorization phase. Authentication authorization, both those pieces are done right here. Okay, that's what your Kerberos is doing. Kerberos is an example of a single sign-on, because again, I'm going to roll back here real quickly. This Kerberos service could be pointing to multiple different resources in the network. And okay, you're Doug Brown. Okay, oh, you want to access that? Okay, here's your ticket to do that. Go ahead and access this server over here, or that server over there, or this resource is over there. So that's what Kerberos is going to do for you. Form of authentication, client signs on one time, and then the server is granting you access to different resources. It's very convenient, but the downside is once the authentication is cleared, once that obstacle authentication is cleared, a hacker would have access to lots of resources, or potentially have access to a lot of resources. That's one of the downsides. For greater security, two-factor or multi-factor authentication can be implemented. And many of us have used this already or are aware of this already. With multi-factor, you would start off with providing like a name and a password. Doug Brown, here's my password. It goes, okay, great. You pass the first step. Second step is we're going to send you typically a code. A lot of times we'll get a code texted to our phone. We get a code sent to our phone. It says, all right, if you plug this PIN number in or this code in, that is now the second check for you. And you provide that PIN number or that code, and it's like, okay, well, now we know this is Doug Brown, and he has this PIN, so we know it has to be him that's signing in. And that's an extra security level. That can be implemented. One of the things that gets done, especially if you're working with like financial institutions, is you'll have a security token. The security token is, it has a series of what seems like very random numbers that are generated that's only known to the authorized user. So once you log in, you then need to provide this code as well. And that would be known by that fob and the server, if you will. So that would be the piece in here, right here, providing this key, if you will, in addition to your name and password. Radius. Radius, this is a server. I think they have it here. This is a Radius server in your network, can be used to authenticate a number of different users for resources in the network. This is going to combine together the three functions: your authentication, authorization, and accounting. Radius, remote authentication dial-in user service, open standard developed in '91, later standardized by Internet Engineering Task Force. This is a cross-platform that runs at application layer, and it's designed to be that center piece for authenticating users from various different locations to various resources. This is going to treat the authentication authorization as a single process. Same type of packet is used for both, while counting as a separate process running on the server. So this can get used to authenticate users and authorize users to access certain resources. And then TACACS. This is another AAA protocol, TACACS, Terminal Access Controller Access Control System. This offers admins options separating the authentication, authorization, and auditing capabilities. So here, the difference is it's going to rely on TCP, not UDP. Developed by Cisco for proprietary use, and it was typically used to authenticate network devices, router switches other than workstations or servers. Has been expanded, but that's typically what got used for. So if somebody wanted to remote into a router, SSH into a router, this got checked. Like, okay, is this Doug Brown? Yeah, okay. What's he trying to do? Yeah, he's allowed to do that. And this was your check for that. So you might see TACACS in there as well as Radius is for your AAA, for your authentication, authorization, and accounting.